Steve? Today is Friday, May the 16th. And today it's time for another BAMF. And I'm going to go completely off the board for this selection. So my nominee in this video is 19th century French mathematician Evariste Galois. Now I'm quite convinced that you and everyone else out there watching has no idea who Evariste Galois is. And that's rightfully so, because his contributions aren't very well known to people who are not deep into mathematics. However, the reason I consider him to be a badass is because he might have the coolest backstory of any mathematician ever. And that's because he accomplished some of the most important feats in some of the most abstract math you can ever think of, all before the age of 21. He had major contributions to two big areas in mathematics, one known as group theory, and the other, named after him, known as Galois Theory. In one of my third-year university math courses, we learned Galois Theory, and it was some of the most intense stuff I've ever seen. It was crazy abstract math. And he solved one of the most important problems in mathematics, finding out if a polynomial can be solved by radicals. This was all very key, and he did it in his own unique and very stubborn way. For you see, he dropped out of school at age 14 because he found it a little bit too boring. So instead he decided to pursue and master mathematics on his own. So he picked up a book on the elements of geometry and mastered it on his own. He tried twice to get into one of the most prestigious schools, École Polytechnique. And he failed to get in both times, because even though he was a genius, he failed to show his work very well. There were also some rumors that some of the work he did was actually too smart for the people marking it. However, that just might be a story that people pass along. He kept trying to publish his works through some of the most famous mathematicians out there, and a lot of them were rejecting publishing his papers. And this was a result of mostly the same thing as before. While his ideas were brilliant, he was not showing his work very well. So his work was mostly rejected and told to be fine-tuned. Now most people would be okay with that, but not Galois. He was angry. And that's because he considered himself to be a genius and was also very stubborn. So instead he just started publishing his papers on his own just through some people that he knew. There was also a point in his life where he ended up in prison. And while in prison, he actually did continue his work. And throughout all of this time, he's been in his late teens and early 20s, so a very young guy. So of course, with all the craziness of this story, it can only come to an even crazier end. And like a lot of great mathematicians before him, Evariste Galois died young. But of course, his story is way more intriguing. And that's because Galois died in a duel. Even more interesting is that no one really knows what the duel is actually all about. It's still completely shrouded in mystery. The most common and backed up by evidence theory out there is that it was over the love of a woman. And on the night before the duel, he wrote down everything that was currently going on in his head with the mathematics he was working on. Because at that point he was pretty convinced that he was not going to live to see another day. And so he wanted people to be able to continue the amazing work he'd been doing. So there you have it, Evariste Galois, today's nominee for BAMF. For pretty much having the most badass backstory of a mathematician you can possibly have. Young, stubborn, making some of the most important contributions to math, and dying in a duel. That is the story of Galois. And now to finish with our own duel, Battleship. Your previous shot, D7, was a miss. My next shot is I6. I would like to say congratulations, Steve, on getting an iPhone. I forgot last video to give you some phone advice. But to be fair, I don't have much smartphone advice to offer. I myself own a BlackBerry Z10. And it came for pretty cheap because it only cost me $10. But I'm pretty sure that as cool as my BlackBerry is, anything that my BlackBerry can do, your iPhone can probably do much better. Pretty much the Samsung Galaxy and the iPhone are the kingpins of this area, so you can't really go wrong with the iPhone. So I wish you the best of luck with your new phone.